Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Start Your Day Great. Start your day with the coach. I am your host, certified high performance coach, Sean Butner. And today we're doing a little book review. Okay, so let me get my book ready. This is the show where we help you find meaning, we help you level up and advance your life in a way that's meaningful so that you can live into your full potential, have the maximum amount of personal joy, growth, and impact in the world. And so here we go. Now, um, this past week I was on vacation. One of the few times where we've gotten out of the house before COVID, because my mother-in-law was turning 75 and she wanted to just be somewhere on the beach together. So we rented an Airbnb, me, my wife, and her folks. And so there's a lot of reading time, which was kind of nice to shake up the day to day. And so for I think Christmas, maybe my birthday, my wife got me this book, which is David Grohl's The Storyteller, Tales of Life and Music. Because as someone that grew up in the 90s, some of my earliest music memories that weren't with my parents were during the summers in like 1990, 1991, probably 1991, where, my mom had breast cancer when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I was really young. And so what that meant was that, in kindergarten, she was diagnosed. I think by the end of first grade, she had gone through all the treatments, and by second grade, she was cleared. But what that did to our family was that my mom had to pick up night shifts as soon as she was healthy enough to help support the family financially. So dad would work during the day doing construction. My mom would be away at night. And so during the summer, it fell on my younger brother, and I to do laundry, to clean the house up, and do that kind of stuff. So when summer would come around, when we didn't have school, what would end up happening is we would be doing laundry, we'd turn on MTV, and lo and behold, one of my earliest memories of a music video is watching Smells Like Teen Spirit on MTV as like probably a 9 or 10-year-old at that point. So and of course, if you didn't know, why is this all relevant? Dave Grohl is the drummer for Nirvana, right? And so that happens, and then we all know that Kurt Cobain dies in the early 90s, 94, was it? Um, and so he's out of the scene for a while and comes back as the Foo Fighters, which is maybe another group you've heard. And so he's been part of rock and roll, at least modern rock and roll, since I can remember. Has kind of been with me along my life in that way. So my wife's like, hey, you like inspiring stories and people? Maybe we'll have you check out The Storyteller. And what overall, first impression is he's really good at telling stories. So he's not only a talented musician, he's also a talented writer, right? And I know what I really want to point out too, I think the last 30 pages of acknowledgments and thank yous are him showing gratitude to the team that helped it come together, the people that influenced him, and I think it shows kind of his character in a way. So I thought that was pretty awesome and amazing. And so really there's three things that I think are relevant to the topic of high performance, the topic of advancing your life as quickly and as purposefully and as meaningfully as you would like. And really, because I think if you break down the book, and I suggest that you read it if you like rock and roll and you're into the Foo Fighters or into Nirvana, it's pretty illuminating. But, it's basically, if I could break it down, it's a story that talks about being completely utterly devoted into your passions. And I just completely smacked the mic. So if you I heard a thud and saw a shake, that's probably what happened. It's a story of being devoted to a passion. So he tells a story about being super into music early on in his formative years, seeing his first punk rock show that changed everything, and how he wasn't really good at school. He had all these other things, but he knew this is what he wanted to do, and he was given the space to follow his heart. So that's not to say that this always works out for folks, but I think there's something to be said to when you're really into something and you obsess about it and you really focus on it, and you're not going to be deterred by the struggles that inherently come by, or the things that might persuade you to try something else, something more conventional. He talks about his relationship with his father suffering when he decides to do music full time, um, because his dad thought you should do the practical thing. You get a stable job, do the family thing, and life goes on. But he knew that he needed to follow music, right? So that's a really good part. And it relates back to your life or my life or anyone's life. And what are you passionate about? What are you cultivating your passion for? And how are you showing up for that, right? Um, if you take a look at a lot of musicians or a lot of people that are at the top of their game, they developed an interest in something and stuck with it from a young age all the way through their life, right? So you want to think in that timeline, like if I had to devote myself to one thing that I really enjoy for now till the end of time, what would that be, right? Is it music? Is it cooking? Is it gardening? Is it um, software? Is it designing buildings? The list goes on. Is it medicine? You could think of anything. But what are you truly passionate about? What are you super interested in? What would you do day in and day out if you just wave a magic wand, right? I think that's a really good perspective. And so that devotion to that passion will help you make sure that you become excellent at that passion. And excellence is part of high performance. It's part of being excellent at something improves other aspects of your life, because once you learn that skill, you can apply it to other things, number one. But number two, it just makes life fun, right? Having a weird thing that you're obsessed about, not too weird, but like, you know what I mean? Like having your thing that you focus on makes you a more interesting person. So I highly suggest finding your passion and devoting more time to it if you can. And not if you can, like if that's it should be you're making time for your passion. Because if you're like, oh, I'll do it if I can, you go years and years and years without devoting any time to it. So that's the caveat there. The second thing I think I found interesting in the book is it talks about struggle and how to find your way back to what makes you happy, right? So we talked about him having this huge passion for music. He does it in high school all the way, until he's like out on the road with his first band, Scream, and then he joins Nirvana, right? And that's a whole whirlwind of craziness that he talks about. And then it's capped by the passing of his friend and bandmate Kurt Cobain, right? So we'll go read the book to get the details about that. He talks a lot more about that whole time of his life, which is interesting. But at the end of it, he talks about how the thing that used to drive him, the thing that used to make him so happy, also had, triggered a lot of grief and a lot of sadness in his life. Hearing music made him think about that time and that connection, that special thing that he had with that band. And he just couldn't listen to the radio, couldn't play music. But he knew eventually he'd have to get back to it. And he talks about that journey. And I think, as we are progressing, we're going to have hurdles, we're going to have setbacks, we're going to have crushing things that happen to us in our life that are sad, that might steal some of the joy from our life. And I think it's a really good story on finding your way back, So if there's something in your life that has eaten up a lot of emotional space and has prevented you from showing up as a parent, as a partner, as a business owner, as all these types of identities that we have in our life, what do you need to do to get back to that feeling of okay, I'm back in the game? And sometimes that could be very easy. It could be really tough, but it's the conversation that I usually have a lot of in my coaching practice of something bad, a family member passed away, car accident, these types of things. And what do you do afterwards to get back to that sense of joy, that sense of feeling like you're progressing, that sense of having an impact on the world, right? So I think that's the second big storyline throughout the whole book that I really enjoyed. And then the third, I think, has gotten me thinking quite a bit is, what's your sense of adventure? Because this guy's life is pretty crazy, and he just followed his passion. He showed up, and then these weird opportunities to play with Iggy Pop or to, become friends with Paul McCartney from the Beatles. Like, these things just kind of manifested in his life. And not in a way where he's trying to go and like, oh, I want to be friends with the Beatles. I want to, be friends with all these musicians. It just was an outcome from the process of doing something you loved, making it work, living life and realizing that it's not safe. There's a lot of things, if you get out of the normal process of society, it could be really scary. But it's also the things that make you feel most alive. And I can relate to this a little bit, not to his extent, but, the first time I left corporate America, I left Walmart in 2012 to start a business, to take a chance on myself, to kind of follow my heart and my sense of adventure. And it was one of the times where I felt most alive, right? It was me doing something that I needed to figure out. I needed to try this thing. I needed to, start this business to help people with student debt, to help figure their way out, because that's what I was working my way through and was getting successful at that. So I'm like, oh, I should show all these other people how to do it. And that sense of taking control of your life, especially having been in corporate America, there's a lot of oversight and committees, and you have to pass decisions through 100 million different people, to be like, no, I'm choosing my destiny. I'm striking out. I'm going to see what happens. And that ultimately led me to an opportunity at Apple when that business I mentioned didn't go the way that I wanted to. And I worked there for 5.5 years, and it was an amazing time, right? And that sense of taking control of your life, taking control of your destiny, and getting out there changed my life, right? And it can change yours too if you're thoughtful about it, right? So I'm not saying quit your job, do your thing, and not handle your responsibility, right? There's a lot of planning. There's a lot of hemming and hawing on my part on, do I really want to do this? This is a huge, it seemed like a huge risk at the time. And looking back, I can't see any other way how it worked out. So that's another thing that I help people with in my coaching programs and one-on-one or group coaching is talk through like, hey, I want to start a business. Hey, I want to change careers. Hey, I want to do this crazy adventure, right? How can I make that a reality? How do I think through this? How do I plan for that transformative experience, that transformative decision in my life, right? So sometimes you need a little bit of a process, a little bit of a sounding board to make sure that you thought through things enough to be able to take that next step. So any case, those are the three main big ideas of the book. Again, it's really well written. It goes really quick. It flows at a pretty good pace. And it's filled with gratitude. Like, he doesn't think that he's special in the book. So I think that's another good quality of it. It's a lot of like, wow, I can't believe this happened. I'm just this kid from Virginia that stumbled into this, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just blind luck. And I think I appreciated that about someone as successful and as talented as him, being really grounded in that way. So definitely check it out. I highly recommend it. I'm very glad for it. Thanks to Ashley for gifting it to me. So it's got me thinking a lot about my sense of adventure, or where I've struggled and kind of haven't re-engaged in my life, or, what am I really devoted to, right? So those kind of three things I think we can take away from it. That said, guys, I hope you like this video. Please do the social media thing and like, share, comment if you have any questions below here. If you like videos like this, I have a longer form video blog that I send out every Sunday that you can check out in the link to my bio, or going to seanbutler.com/blog. You'll see a button on the right. You click that, put in your email and name, and you'll get more videos like this, a little bit deeper, but it's a really good way to keep in the game of leveling up your life if you need a little help achieving quicker or reaching those big goals or overcoming struggles and stuff like that, right? So all the personal development type things. So super glad to do this for you. Hope to see you guys next Friday. So in 2 days, the next show. So I'm doing these Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays now, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So see you then. Take care, and yeah, see you Friday.